Hi, welcome to tutorial number 17 for CSCI 130 Introduction to Programming here at the University of Wisconsin Parkside. In this tutorial, we are going to introduce the concept of checkboxes using the example that the textbook has in chapter 8. So for this chapter, they have an example like the one that you can see on figure 8.1, in which they have a form where they expect the user to enter the patient name and then check for the services that the patient is getting, like cleaning, cavity filling, or x-ray. So they're supposed to click on each one of these items, and then this form will calculate the total. So a cleaning and x-ray check, which is 35 plus 35, that should give us 120. If only cavity and cleaning I'll check, then this will be an 85, and so on. It is a requirement that for this form there is a name. So on the next one, they illustrate that if we don't type a name, we expect that there will be a message that we call a message dialog that will appear when our name is entered. Since in the first part of the chapter they are talking about checkboxes, we just gonna say like the same thing that they have. This is a small square that we're gonna put a check. So this is gonna be the check or uncheck, which is gonna mean it is true or false. Okay, so this is on figure 8.5. They show a possible example of using the form. So you see cleaning and x-ray are checked, so the total is 120, and then as a name. Now on section 9.2, they give us an algorithm in which they say, well, basically this is what we want. We want to have a big if statement, and then if there is no name for the patient, then it should display a message that says, hey, this is an error. Let's see what the message says. Please enter a name and check at least one item. Okay, and then if they gave a name, then we're gonna do the else part, in which we're gonna have a total variable that is initialized to 0, and then for every item that we check, we're gonna be adding the cost of such item until we compute the total, and then we display the total. Okay, so we gonna work on that program now, and this is gonna be the first part of what you need to post for the first posting session of this week. So they show us the actual code on figure 8.7, in which you can see initially we're not working with the message dialog. I'm gonna do that on the next tutorial. So let's open Visual Basic and see if we can design a form that looks like this. So I'm gonna go over here. Now I'm gonna have my form to look something like this. Then I'm gonna go and again see, so for the title of the form it says dental payment. I think is that what it says. So we check that we change the text, then we type it, dental payment. Okay, then what else do we see in the figure? Then we see a big label that says dental payment form. Okay, so it looks like a big title, so we need a label, and then they have dental payment form, and it seems that they have a big font, so let's change that to maybe 16 bold. Okay, I think this is fine for my form. Now let's see what else. Then it seems that they have another label and a text box. Okay, so let's add another label and a text box. Now the label is his patient name. Okay, text. I'm gonna change the font. Maybe 10, and that looks okay. Now what else? We need 1, 2, 3 checkboxes and 3 labels. Okay, so let's look for checkbox right here. So we need 3. So for the first one, I'm gonna change the text to cleaning. And then the second one says cavity. So we need another checkbox. And my next says X-ray. So next checkbox. Okay, now we're gonna get 3 labels: 35, 150, 85. I was gonna say 35. And 150, 85. 150. Another label. Let's put 85. Okay, line those like this. There. Now they also have 2 more labels in the bottom. So another label right here for the total. Let's change the auto size from true to false, the border style from none to fixed 3D, and the text empty string. And another label for the total, and they have it uppercase. Okay, so here we got total column, and a button that says calculate. Okay, then we press F5. There are no errors. We should see the form there. You see what I'm able to check, nothing happens. Okay, so now we gonna use the code that they have as an example here. You see they define a variable total, they initialize the total to 0, and then there are basically 3 if statements that they use to compute the change of the total. So I think we can do that. Okay, so I'm gonna make some changes there. So I'm gonna click over here, and then I'm gonna define dim total as decimal. Okay, now look at that is underlined with green because we haven't used it. It's just a warning. Now we're gonna have the if statements, and then we're gonna say if I did not change the name of my checkboxes. So the first one for cleaning is called checkbox 1, and then you see on their example they change it, which is a good practice to change the name. So we're gonna go and say, okay, going back to my example, if check box 1 dot check equals to true, then that means they did select the checkbox 1. So my first checkbox is 35. So what I'm gonna do is total equals to total plus 35. Forgot the equal sign. Equal. Then here, once I have parentheses there, the total plus 35 there. Okay, so if they select my first checkbox, they will increase the total by 35. So this is fine. However, we check on, on one of the previous tutorials we said that there is a shortcut for this, that this is equivalent of doing the following. So that means that's equivalent. Okay, now let's see, this is my second checkbox, is that number 2, and the increase is for 150. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this, Control C, and undo and delete it. Okay, and then paste it, and then I'm gonna say when the checkbox number 2 is selected, then we increase the cost with 150. Okay, and the third checkbox, which is X-ray, is 85. So we're gonna paste it again and say checkbox number 3 then is 85. Okay, so now we're able to compute the total, and the total should be displayed on my label 6. Then I'm gonna say label 6 dot text equals total. Okay, so we're gonna test it, compare that with the book. Now in the book I'm sure they changed that to the money notation. So let's press F5. There are no errors, we should see the form. So right now I'm not typing any names, but I should. So if I click on cleaning and I calculate, it's at 35. Then if I'm doing this, look at how that changes. Okay, so it should give me an error message because I have no name, but we haven't done that yet. Okay, so here we got the difference is that they name these checkboxes with they change the name. I mean, we can, if you want to do that, you can do it by selecting the checkbox, and then on top it says something like name, so you can change that to something meaningful. The last thing that I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put here the string format, which is on here. So remember we did last time a string dot format, so I'm gonna do that here too. So we're gonna say here string dot format, open parentheses, closing parentheses, then here in quotations comma we do the curly braces 0:C, then we close this. So let me check if I don't have a typo say okay, that looks okay. Then I'm gonna press F5 one more time, and then if I do this, now the difference is, you see now we format the input. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right here. On the next tutorial we're gonna add the message dialog, and that's what actually you need to post on D12.